if you want to reach the 20th floor on any of those, you need to practice and you need to enjoy the process. And I'm not saying that it's perfect. Like sometimes you will fall back, sometimes you will forget, sometimes you will take a break, and that's fine. But it's an average. At the end of the day, it's an average. And if you're doing it more than forgetting to, you get better and life gets better.
Welcome back to another episode. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine, somebody who has inspired me to find balance and happiness in my life. This guy seems to have cracked the code when it comes to living a balanced, happy, and peaceful life. Without further ado, let's welcome my good friend, Gerardo Nuñez. What's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
Hey Dan, thank you for having me here.
You seem to be very focused and know exactly what you want and how you pursue happiness, how you see happiness, and that is almost, in my opinion, it is nice to hear when somebody's just so grounded, I guess. So I want to ask a bunch of different questions, but just tell me a little bit about yourself exactly. I know that you and I studied in college together, and then now we're moving. We both live in the U.S., but just tell me more about the whole journey, the whole thing, and what brought you to Orlando, I think that you're living in right now.
Yeah, sure. So let me begin by saying that um, I think that my view on life is very inspired on listening to older people, right? Like I see my life in dynamic terms, so it's always been very curious to me. Like, hey, those people that are like I don't know in their 60s, 70s, 80s, um, they've basically lived their whole life, and what do they remember joyfully and what do they regret? So in a sense, I'm optimizing towards that, towards being an old dude that looks back and says, you know what, I lived a great life.
Interesting. Because it's funny though, because I think we were talking about a few days ago when you were telling me this thing how it seems like once you get to an old age, 60, 70, 80s, you start looking back and say, you know what, I wish I had working so hard, or I wish I had done this or that. So the pain of regret is just a lot more painful than just doing the things and then failing by just trying to do them. But in this case, it's just interesting to me that we see how a lot of people are trying to optimize their life and try and how to try to to do this perfect environment, but you're looking at it from a different perspective. You're not trying to get the most money on your job or trying to make yours. You want to live more like a peaceful life ex- and have more experience rather than have the typical culture just work, 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 work until whatever old age, I guess.
Right. And I think that it goes hand in hand, right? Like you said two interesting things for me at least. The first is the fear of regret, and then it's a little bit about you mentioned it. Well, let's go with regret, right?
Okay.
What's so scary about regretting things at the end of your life is that there's nothing you can do about it. And let that sink for a minute. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it once it happens. And once you realize that there are things that you're never gonna be able to change, then you start and that life is limited, the amount of time that you have is limited. Then you realize that there's almost kind of a there's a need with yourself to be more intentional about how you live life. Also, you realize that most of life is the journey and not the destination. So if you're like suffering every single day because you want to be a millionaire, and at some point you achieve that, but you suffer 20, 30 years, you destroy all of your relationships in the way there. That moment of success, of gratification, is just split of a second. But then all that you lost in the process weighs more. And there's a second thing that you mentioned, and I see you wanted to jump in,
Yeah, no, no, you go
but
first. Go first.
there's a second thing that you mentioned that
Uh huh.
it's that resonates with me deeply, and it's that you say, "Oh, that you see me and I'm optimizing to live a peaceful life," and that's exactly right. Uh, at some point in my life, I realized that to me, and I deeply believe that everyone should have their own definition of success. But to me, living a successful life is living a peaceful life. To me, happiness equals peace, and it means peace with yourself, peace with your choices, not having regrets placed into that, peace with others. Uh, there's part of forgiveness that comes into that. There's part in building and nurturing healthy relationships that come into that. Living a low stress life, if you are lucky or blessed enough to get that place into that. And that's the kind of life that I aim for, is having enough resources to enjoy the mundane. It's not about, oh, I want to live every single crazy experience. Like I want to go to space, and I want to, I don't know, go to every single concert and have the best seats and travel around the world and eat the most expensive dishes. Like some of those things are nice, right? And some of those things I want to do, yeah. But overall, I want to enjoy my day to day. I want to enjoy, like, I want to wake up, be at peace, enjoy my family, enjoy my wife, my dog, my house, my hobbies, my friendships, and feel that I live a life full of love to give and receiving also a ton of love. Actually, many studies cite gratefulness as one of the biggest indicators of happiness overall. And to me, one of the things that builds into gratefulness is entering that state of peaceful contemplation and realizing, like, not doing but being, and realizing, you know what, I'm lucky. I have a lot of good things going on for me.
Interesting. Um, you mentioned a couple of things that, and the reason why I'm smiling, because one of the key things, it sounds very cliche. It's not about the destination; it's a journey or the process of getting the thing. That is one thing that's been I've struggled with a lot in my life. I'm very very impatient. I'm trying. If I set out a goal, I just want to achieve it, accomplish, and then I don't see any of the journey. I mean, the journey to me is the annoying part I need to deal with in order for me to get the goal. However, lately I've realized that once you reach the goal, it's the most anticlimactic thing. Just okay, you reach the goal, say okay, and that was it. That was
Yeah.
it's just like are you kidding me right now? I guess the expectations were so high, and by the time you get them, it's like
Yeah.
okay, it's not what I thought it was. And I've been trying to just get better at it, and and for those people who are able to just enjoy day by day whatever they're doing and not having this constant self-imposed pressure of I need to accomplish this, I need to accomplish that, and just and I think it's part. I can't speak for other countries, but I think it's part of the American culture. Just go, 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 accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. Also, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all those have an influence in that. We've seen the top 1% of performers and see their lives. Okay, if they can do it, we can do it as well, but we want it now. So that is one of the things that to me I know I have to do, and it's been hard to to just focus on the process and just let the whole thing just be. And another thing that you were saying when it comes to regrets, it just it seems like we hear that a lot from older people, and yet we feel like maybe not you, but other people feel like unless they experience that, unless they go through the pain of regretting, they're not going to learn. It's just we're not constantly thinking about, oh, I should enjoy more my family, I should just take the trip, I should do this, I should do that. We just wait, well, when the time is perfect, or I'll have more time, I have an extra day, I have an extra
Right.
month, I have an extra year, and then it gets to a point where did the time go? It just gone. And I think that's one of the
Well,
things. Yeah, yeah, go for it.
yeah. So I'm gonna go in reverse first with the last thing that you said.
Hmm.
Well, hindsight's 2020, right? So
Hmm.
in hindsight, everything makes sense, and I'm not saying that I have everything figured out. Like, I'm I'm probably just like statistically going to have some things that I regret at the end of my life that I
Yeah,
didn't see
for sure.
clearly at the time, right?
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I acknowledge that most people don't learn from listening to others. Uh, I don't know. I just imagine myself in other people's situations like really, really hard, and I can empathize deeply with what they look happy about and what they are suffering from. So yeah, it's just that like it's not a common thing. I think people need to live their life, try their things. If you're not convinced that something is going to work a certain way, you should follow your instinct and do what seems right to you, right? There's one thing, and it's that when you say, "Oh, the journey is something that I just have to get done with," well, that's partially true, right? Like the journey is work. The, if you're working to achieve something, uh, and I can just point to the cello right here that I started learning like a year and a half ago. The journey is playing every single day, like practicing every single day, and a lot of the time sounding just terrible or not being able to do the things that I would like to do. Um, but that's what leads to success, especially if you can be intentional about it. Um, I think that to me, what's more, how you put it, discouraging would be not knowing if I'm making progress in the journey. But I do, like, for example, let's say you want to be an athlete. Part of you needs to enjoy uh, the training, and it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. You're not going to be able to drink and party on the weekends because you have to train and you have to keep good health. And you have to keep your instrument, that it's your body, in shape, because you want to compete and you want to win because you want to be an athlete. And it's the same for everything in life. Like everything worth achieving takes effort. So that's the difference between saying like, oh, I want to be an artist, like I want to be the next Taylor Swift. Oh, okay. Are you willing to go through the singing lessons and the training and choreography and learning the business of the music industry? Are you willing to go through the work, and are you able to enjoy it, to see meaning in it?
See, that is I think that's the key aspect of it, because in my mind, and that's what I was going to ask you when you said that you want to get you want to see improvement. But how do you do, or what do you do when, because this happens to me a lot, this is where you feel that you could be in the future. I mean, it could be 6 months from now, a year, 5 years, or whatever, and this is where
Yeah,
you are right now. So it is a massive gap. And again, probably me, because I'm very, very impatient, but how do you just look the next step instead of looking at the 20th floor? So you're at ground
yeah,
level and you have, okay, I want to get to the 20th floor. How do I do just to focus on the next step and be okay with that? And doesn't and I get it. Some people are faster learners, some people are doing better than other ones, and everyone is different. But every now and then it just gets it gets frustrating to me. And I'm sure that for a lot of people, I think that people don't fail. I think people just quit. They don't give enough
yeah.
time until they get actually better. And and I know that you've been practicing cello, which is not really a very common instrument. Most people like to play piano or just the guitar or the drums. And for you, it's just you're almost getting, you're not getting anything out of it from approval or
Yep,
accolations or anything. I mean, it's just completely personal. Nobody would care
yep.
if you play good cello or not. It's not that it's not even good for your body. It's not that you're working out and say,
Right.
okay, I'm getting healthy. It's definitely good for your brain, because
Yeah.
it helps you to keep your brain fit and active. But when it comes to that, and that's probably how it, and that's something that you love and you like. But when it comes to other things, for instance, you change careers. When you went to college, you took 2 degrees. One was economics, and the other one, I don't know if it's called a
Liberal
philosophy.
arts.
Yeah, exactly. But then when you moved to America, you realized that your degree wasn't worth much over here, or you decided to do something else, and you self-taught different programming language from R to Python to, and you were trying to figure it out on the go. How are you able just to keep that consistency and to just focus on the thing? And now, I mean, now you have a great job, a great position, but that took time and effort without even knowing if it was going to pay out.
Oof. Okay, well, there's a lot there. So let's start with something. You were asking, how do you look at the next step instead of the
Mhm.
20th floor? And the answer is, you need to look at both. You need to keep looking at the 20th floor because it's possible to achieve it. Like, reasonably, like everyone's 20th floor looks differently.
Yeah.
Um, but also look at the next step, realize that you've taken a step, and be able to look back for like now and then and saying, wow, like I've taken a bunch of steps. So there's been improvement. And that's why, for example, for people that are um, like in their own fitness journey, having like progress pictures are amazing. Or if you are trying to get better, for example, with me at the cello, having old recordings or going back to simpler pieces that I wasn't able to play, I'm playing it now, helps a lot. Um, and also like having people that are knowing you every single day of your process. And when they see you again and they see you perform again in whatever you do, they they will notice. They will notice for you. And relationships are really helpful as a supporting network to get you improving, and keep you motivated. But a lot of it also comes from really wanting that. Um, when you say, "How did I keep consistency to learn programming languages by myself and just because, like, yeah, as you mentioned, when I moved to the US, I realized that I basically didn't know how to do anything that was marketable. Nobody was going to hire
Yeah,
me for the things that I knew how to do. So I needed to learn a new set of skills.
pivot. Yeah.
And in my case, I had a very real motivation for wanting to learn them. I needed a job that would pay the bills, that had a lower barrier of entry. And by doing research, I saw, oh, well, there's a lot of demand for people that know how to code. And it seems like it's something that you can learn online. And I had a laptop, an internet connection. So, and also doing research, I realized that if you had been in the industry for, let's say, 10, 15 years, chances were that you were used to older technology that wasn't as relevant, um, as newer. So it was the perfect combination of things for me at the time. But again, like the biggest thing was I really want this. I really want this. So that's my 20th floor. And keeping that vision of that's where I can be. Um, and at the time, I had like this goal in my mind, like, hey, yeah, if I start working in this industry, I know that I can, in 5 years or something like that at the time, um, I can be earning over 100K a year, which was like mind blowing to me. Um, and that was kind of a soft goal that I put for myself, more like an aspirational goal that I had. And I had the time, had the energy, didn't have too many options. That also
Yeah.
helps. Like, when you need to get something done because you need like to get something done, that's a hell of a motivation. Um, and that's how it happened.
Interesting. You said a couple of things that really resonated with me, and I want to just have like a follow up question. You said one of the things was that you have, if you are into fitness and you want to lose a bunch of weight, then you look at old pictures and you see it. Or if you practice cello or any other instruments, you look back and have the old recordings. But one thing is just, especially if you are trying to lose weight, you're not going to see results after one day, after one week. I mean, even if you go every day, you're probably going to see it down the I mean, down the line in 5 months, 6 months, or it might take you longer. And the question is, which I think that's what happened to me in the past with other things I wanted to pursue, is how do you avoid getting discouraged when you don't see results right away? And the only reason, for instance, that I was able to pursue running, because running was a coping mechanism for me. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and after every run, I felt better. I mean, it was just what's called the runner's high, and I could bank on that. I wasn't running to lose weight. I wasn't running. I was running to as an escape. But in other areas of my life, even when I feel, oh, I really want to pursue this, well, do I will have the patience of knowing that day after day I'm not going to see any improvement because they're very, very tiny, almost you cannot even see them. You can only see them
Yep.
when you look back in time, like when you look back 6 months or a year. It's like, holy shit, I've grown so much, and yet I'm not still at that 20th floor, but
Yeah.
I can see the improvement. And I think that is key, especially what you did, because you did say that you didn't have many options. In reality, you had a different. You have many options. I mean, there are many jobs that you could qualify that that they were not paying as much, but
Right.
you basically had your blinders on. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on this. I don't care. That's my goal, and which is impressive because I can see.
Well,
Uh,
let me stop you there, because there's a key aspect of
okay.
like my specific journey in that,
Hmm.
in yeah, moving to tech and doing data analytics and all of that, um, that played a big role. And it's that at the time I was already married, and while my wife wasn't making a lot of money, actually, we were like really struggling. I had her full support throughout the whole process. Like, I had someone else that was unconditionally believing in me, and that was unconditionally supporting me, uh, because she trusted me, and she was able to just wing it, to give me the opportunity to succeed for both of us. So it was like I was never alone, in a sense. And that's where I say nurturing relationships, healthy relationships that are there and are your support network, and they inspire you to do more, and they are there to pick you up when you fall down, is extremely helpful. Um, Also, I'm going to admit that in my case, I get a lot, like, you get your high from running. I get my highs from learning. Like, I love learning and just learning for the sake of learning. Uh, I love, for example, I was having cello lessons yesterday, and then we were talking about how to get into fifth position in the cello. That is something that I hadn't done before. And there's this whole movement with the arm that was very foreign to me. And just playing around, thinking about it. And then when it finally clicked, and I was like, oh, this is how you do it. And just playing around with it for the first time and discovering that new concept was extremely stimulating for me, in that sense of endorphins. So that's personally me. Like, that's what makes me feel good. That's what excites me. And going back to my wife and relationships, is like a lot of the time I just like go to my cello lessons and come back home, and I'm like, hey, guess what? Like, I learned this, and then I share my excitement, and I have someone there to get excited with me, and just uh share, like, create like that positive feedback loop of me being excited and she being excited because I'm excited, and then we're both excited because now I know how to position my left arm to get to fifth position, which can be like the most uh inconsequential thing ever, but I'm
But they're
happy.
but they're the small. It's about the small things, and basically relationship, just having that somebody that that you can share your life with. Just it's just like a story, and you get. I mean, you're very proud and of whatever she does, and she's with you as well. But in your case, and then now, because you guys have been married for what, 6, 7 years now, probably even more. I don't.
uh More, actually. We've been married since 2015, so
eight
that's
years,
8 years
eight
now.
years. So incredible, and yeah, and both of you were very 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 young. With yeah, young, but
Yeah, I was 24, she was 21. Like, we
e-
were kids.
exactly. And the fact, and that's gonna go like another question to this, like in your, because if you guys have been married for 8 years, you've probably been in a relationship for what, for 10, roughly 11,
Um, 11, yeah.
11. So, and you guys have gone through a ton of things, from living back home in Venezuela, which
Yeah.
is a mess, to moving here and being broke, because that's what a lot of us getting here is just struggle, because we don't have a job, we barely have any savings.
Yep.
And and how do you guys deal with all of that, and what are the keys, or what have you learned the keys for a successful marriage or even a relationship when it comes to being in I guess like in low points in your life where it's a lot of stress, because guess what, yeah, money might not buy happiness, but money can solve a lot of issues. And when you don't
Yep.
have it, and when you have the money, then there's a lot of issues, a lot of stress paying the bills. How are we going to do it? How do you guys overcome that, and what do you learn from that?
Well, you're throwing all the loaded questions. And let's see. How did we survive? I think it's the core of the question. And
Yeah.
how did we survive as a couple? Like,
Yes.
why didn't that extreme hardship break us?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to something that I said before, and
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
achieving anything is wanting that. Like really wanting that, and wanting something to the point that you're willing to go through the hardship. Works with training, works with learning an instrument, works with relationships. If you want a healthy relationship, then you are willing to do the work. And wanting a healthy relationship is not the same as wanting to be with someone. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Um, and wanting a healthy relationship with someone specifically, it's also a different thing. Like those are
Yeah.
like all different things.
Levels. Yeah.
So, well, it's just like a Venn diagram, right? Like you could have like, hey, I want to have a healthy relationship. I don't mind with whom. The other thing is I want to be with this person, and it doesn't matter if it's healthy or not. And the third is, well, I want both. I want to have a healthy relationship with this person. Um, and the more specific, obviously, that you go, the more you are saying you're willing to compromise certain things. In our case, something that helped us a lot was that we talk about hard stuff really early on in our relationship. So actually, we were surprised when we got married because we moved in together and we said, this is strange. There are no surprises. And we had this idea in our head that once we moved in together, we were going to like learn this terrible thing about one another, and there was going to be something that was like, oh my god, I can't stand this thing. No, like we already knew the important things. We adapted really quickly because our goal, our shared goal, was to have a healthy relationship with one another, and that helped a lot. And then moving to the US, and you were saying we were basically broke to the point that um, our dates was like once a month we would walk
Yeah.
1 mile and buy a $1 ice cream at McDonald's, share it, and then walk back to the apartment that was empty with a bed. Um, we would we were still looking at the 20th floor and looking at the steps. We could look back and say, okay, let's compare things, right? We were in Venezuela. We couldn't walk uh, on the
Yeah. That's
streets
fair.
and feel
That's
safe,
fair. Yeah.
right?
That's yeah.
Um, Now we can. And we were like, and if we manage to stay here long enough and everything goes well, we can, have a better standard of living. So we were looking at the 20th floor at that point, looking back and saying, I'm being grateful for the little things. It was, hey, you know what? Now we have um, air conditioning. That's something. I can go out for a run and I can feel again safe. You like we have a job that barely pays the bills, but it pays the bills, and that's something beautiful in our relationship that happened. That we were looking for things to be grateful about. We had each other, so we would put a lot of effort into pull ourselves up from all the struggles. And we also had a lot of moments. We've had a lot of moments in our relationship where someone is doing better than the other. For example, in this case, when we moved, she was doing better than I was because she was working. Um, and then I got a job, and she got fired, and then and then I had to be there for her, and then my job was a contract, and the contract ended, and then she got a job, and then it reversed back and forth. Um, but we had the goal to put ourselves first as a couple, to make whatever sacrifices we needed to make to stay together. And maybe it's like we were lucky that a person that we met when we just moved to the US, he took us out for a couple of beers. And he was like, hey, listen to me. Now that you're here, and this person looked at us and he was like, she only has you and you only have her. And that's it. And that's the only thing that you both have. And it was true. And that's something that resonated so deeply, and something that we referenced a lot when we were like, oh, how do we choose? We have obviously like all these pressures from society, and for example, gender roles. Like I wasn't the man who was providing, or we have pressure from family. Like, hey, now that you are in the US, can you help us? And we're like, no, I need to, in any capacity that I can, try to save because I have a bunch of bills to pay.
Yeah.
And I have to put myself first because, as if you were in an airplane, you put your oxygen mask first and then you help the others.
One of the things that really, I wouldn't say it impacted me, but really resonated with me was that you guys were uh, practicing and trying to be grateful for a lot of things that you had, even though you didn't have much. It was for the small things. And sometimes it's so hard because when you're struggling, right? When you're struggling, it's so hard to look at this like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm healthy, fine, but then I can barely afford any food. Yeah, but at least I can eat. So it is, I feel, and I think that's why a lot of people are unhappy. And I include myself in that boat because for a long time I didn't even practice that just being grateful about the things I had in my life. To me, it's just like, and I remember my ex-wife used to say, "Hey, well, you need to practice just grateful. What are you grateful for?" And to me, it was just a waste of time. Even because
Right.
in my head, it's like, bro, there are such a small things. Yeah, I can say about the same thing over and over and over. Yeah, I have food, I have a roof on top of my head, and I'm healthy. Sure, but then it's one thing to say it, and another thing to really not only understand it, but then believe it and feel it. And you guys just doing it when you were struggling, one, and when you're such a young age still, and when you're still very naive when it comes to the adult life, the struggles, right? Because before you move here, you sort of living with your parents, even though you kind of lived together for a while, probably. But then at the age of 22, 24, or 25, you're still very naive. And my question, I think, I think it would be, were you guys always like that, or at least in your case, because I don't, I don't know if you know this about your wife, but in your case, were you always trying to look at the bright side, always looking at what to be grateful for, or that is something that you had to develop in order to survive, mentally and emotionally to some degree?
That's an excellent question, and it's not something that I had thought about before. I think that we definitely developed that when we moved, and we struggled and we had nothing to hold on to. Um, and yeah, I think okay, this is going to be like so cheesy, but I'm so grateful that that happened
Yeah.
actually because now I live a happy life. You know, like we're like for example just walking our dog earlier today, and
Mhm.
our dog has this amazing thing where he just sits in the middle of we have a field
Mhm.
next to the house, and he just sits and he just enjoys being there, feeling the wind, feeling the sun.
Yeah, dogs are awesome. Dogs are awesome.
He just enjoys being there, and I'm like, that inspires me. It's like I want to have that, and we see that, and we realize like, you know what? We're really lucky. We're really lucky that we are like we got to experience that. We got to be both now working from home, um, with our dog, and just being able to, in the middle of the day, go outside, all of us together, and just enjoy a beautiful weather right now
Yeah.
and a moment of peace and quiet in family. Um, but I think as everything, there's something that you said that actually I want to point to, that
Yeah.
is you saw practicing gratefulness as basically BS.
Yeah, pretty much,
And,
pretty much.
and
I have
that
to be
and
honest
that's
with you.
right, and that's a fair approach. It's like, yeah, my life is not gonna get better by just saying, "Oh, I'm grateful for the sun and the wind." Uh,
Yeah,
I'm just sitting in the grass. Like, no. Uh, but it's skill. It's like resting, right? Learning how to rest is something that you practice. Learning how to run is something that you practice. Learning how to love and be a good friend or partner is something that you practice. And learning to be grateful and learning to find happiness in the mundane, in the day to day life is something that you practice. But to reach, and I love, like, I'm going to start using the 20th floor so much from now on. Uh, if you want to reach the 20th floor on any of those, you need to practice and you need to enjoy the process. And I'm not saying that it's perfect. Like sometimes you will fall back, sometimes you will forget, sometimes you will take a break, and that's fine. But it's an average. At the end of the day, it's an average. And if you're doing it more than forgetting to, you get better and life gets better. Define what success means to you and just chase that. Nobody, like, it's your life at the end of the day. Nobody else is gonna live it.
but that is, but that's hard. That's defining success. It is hard because
Of course,
unless,
you're gonna make a
yeah,
lot of people angry by
mm,
not chasing that, and you're gonna face a lot of criticism for not chasing that. Like, hey, like I'm not interested in being a millionaire. Like, I really am not. A lot of people just don't get it. A lot of people will tell me, no, what happens is that, and this has like this true, like this has happened to me. People have
yeah.
told me that. It's just that you know you're never gonna get it because you're lazy and you are just jealous of people that have achieved that. And I'm like,
They're just projecting. They're just
and
projecting.
I'm like, no, I really don't want that. Like that's not my goal. Like if it happens, it happens. But I'm not pursuing that. Like I'm good enough as I am right now, and I'm way off on my track to becoming a millionaire. Um, so but I know what makes me happy, and I know the kind of life that I want to live, and I know how I prioritize things, and I know who I want in my life, who I don't want, what do I want to do, how I want to spend my limited time, how I want to spend my youth, and how I want to plan for when I'm old. Um, I have my priorities. Like I've thought really long and hard on the kind of life that I want to live, and that's why when you see me, you say like, "Oh, you're so grounded. Like you know what you want for yourself." I wanted that. Like I wanted to know, and it took a lot of effort, and that's still changing, right? Like how, like I have a sense of roughly the kind of person that I want to be, the kind of life that I want to live, the way that it shapes in my day to day, like the concrete, it can change. For example, I used to live in South Florida. Now I live in Orlando because I wanted to uh, be in a place that was more chill and that was closer to Disney. And now we're thinking like, hey, do we want to move to Europe? Maybe in a couple of years and live, uh, a simpler life. Uh, and it's all on the table, but it's all in pursuit of the same values and the same vision for the kind of life that we want to live. And for example, I know that, let's say, if my wife were to tell me, like, you know what, like, I would hate that life. I would hate moving to Europe. Uh, I know, at least as of today, that I would choose her over moving to a simpler life because I know what I value the most and the relationships that are worth it the most to me. Uh, she's great, so we probably would like find a happy middle as we usually do. But it's just to exemplify that if you ask yourself the big questions first and you have clarity on those big, scary topics, then you're able to navigate and adapt uh, and procure to yourself the best possible outcomes. And there was a question that I didn't address before, and he
Yeah,
said, "I've changed through
yeah,
life, right?
yeah.
I'm not the same person that I was 5, 10 years ago. I remember that when I say that I'm giving back is because I also had someone that came my way and told me, you know what, like you can achieve things. I had this issue where when I was in college that I would never be satisfied with any level of achievement, and I would always downplay them every
That
single time,
that shit is happening to me every single day, dude.
right?
Every single day. It's just tough. It's just
Right?
tough. I mean, I don't even know how to overcome that. It just, how do you
Uh,
do that? How do you are okay with your, how you're pleased with your achievements in a way that you
Well,
can feel at peace with that.
it's a matter of awareness. At some point, as I was saying, like I was in college, I was doing a bunch of things that, looking back, were great. Like I was doing 2 degrees at the same time, which meant spending like 12 hours a day at college. I was the president of the oldest student group, uh, in our college. I was involved in like politics there. I was also working part time. I was doing voluntary work back at my school. Uh, I was doing so much, and I was always down. I would always downplay it. I was always say like, "Yeah, like I was just there because there was no one else," or "Yeah, we did this," but actually, I didn't do much. I was just like there winging it because I'm 17 or 19 and I don't know what I'm doing in life. Um, and I was dating my wife, and I remember the exact time I was driving her back home, and I tell her like, yeah, like I haven't really done a lot. Um, and she was saying that she wanted to move like out of Venezuela, like she wanted to come here to the U.S. and we're just dating. And I was like, yeah, well, that's admirable. Like, I don't think I would ever be able to do it. It just seems too hard to me. And like it's not like I'm not the kind of person that achieves things. And she made me stop the car, look me in the eye, and start listing all the things that I did and all the things that I had achieved in the past like 3 4 years. It's like not just anyone does that, and that broke me. Like that totally broke me. That's why I like one of the reasons why I believe that nurturing healthy relationships, having a support system, having people that believe in you and give you positive reinforcement is so important and so valuable. That broke me in a positive way. That helped me break the awareness barrier and realize, you know what? Like all these things that I've been taking for granted are really special in their own way. They have been achievements. They have defined who I am. They have been expressions of my existence, my existence, my human existence, of my personality, of what I'm able to do. Um, and yeah, I've had that. I've had that voice next to me, like not in my head, but literally next to me, telling me every time that I come with a crazy idea, like, "Hey, let me buy a cello because I want to learn the cello, and I have never done music before. I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to buy a cello. I don't even know if there are like cello lessons here." I've had that voice next to me telling me, "You can do it. I believe in you," and getting excited in the process and helping me grow. Like I wasn't again, like I wasn't who I am today when I met my wife, and I'm so grateful that we've grown through the relationship. But it's the same with friendship. Like you don't necessarily need a wife to do that. You friends also matter. Family also matters. In my case, like it was her. But if you have like a long time friend that is there for you, or if you have like an amazing relationship with your parents or your siblings, and you just have that support network, life it's so much easier. And if you don't have it, then my advice would be
Go find it.
prioritize that. Yeah, go find it. Go make it a priority to find it. Make sure that you have people on your corner that are giving it their all to see you succeed, to see you happy, in your own terms, in your own way.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it was very beautiful. All the things that you said and how you were able to get out of that vicious cycle by having, either by luck or by chance, your girlfriend at the time, now wife, next to you and saying those things to you, which is absolutely amazing. But one thing I just been wondering, since you talk about this topic, because I felt that it was. I'm not saying that I'm the only one who suffers from this, but then I don't see other people being vocal about it. Why do you think it happens? That thing of us not giving ourselves enough credit and feeling that I just uh, whatever I accomplish, it's not a big deal. Which, by the way, it literally just happened to me 2 days ago. I run a marathon after being injured and all of that, and it's like apparently just 1% of people just run it. And when I finish, I thought, okay, fine. I mean, I I run it, and then just I didn't feel much. I just downplayed it, and to me, for so asking to somebody who experienced that, why do you think that we experienced that this way? What do you think
Why
that would?
do we downplay every
Yes,
single
bingo.
achievement?
Yes.
Um, I don't really know why we do it. I I see obviously a lot of value in not doing it. I see a lot of value in, let's see, I'm an optimist at this point in my life, right? I've been very lucky, um, so I get to be an optimist, um, which is a privilege, and I'm grateful for it. But I think like a lot of things can be their own 20th floor, right?
Okay.
Like it's like every step is an accomplishment in itself. And if you realize things not in the context of, oh, who do I like, how do I compare to, maybe it's social media, how do I compare to the top 1% of the world? Hey, like, why can't I play like Jojo Ma? Like, dude, like, the guy is gifted. The guy is gifted. Why can't I play soccer like Messi? The guy is gifted. But I don't need to be Jojo Ma or Messi to be happy and enjoy playing the cello, playing soccer. Um, I don't need to be them or be the first in the world to achieve something and be proud of it. Because with my ability, my circumstances, and in my life, I did my best and I was able to accomplish something. I think that celebrating, like practicing and getting better at celebrating things, it's also skill. And it's something that I didn't know how to do before I married my wife. I was all about like savings. I was like, yeah, we're going to save because we need to have a financial plan and we're going to keep costs low and all of that. And she was more like, you know what? Today it didn't rain. Let's celebrate. And today, I found the shoes that I was looking for months. Let's celebrate. And in a happy middle, we celebrate a lot. We celebrate a lot of small stuff. Like sometimes we just celebrate for the sake of it. It's like, hey, we just want to acknowledge that we're happy and that life is going well, that we're not sick, um, that even with all the problems that could be happening, around us, we are we're pretty darn okay. And obviously, when things happen like, hey, I just learned how to play a new piece. Well, let's use it as an excuse to celebrate. Or, hey, I don't know, like anything. We usually think that celebration or celebrating things and enjoying the moment and letting things sink is something that only can happen when these big things occur in our life. For example, if you were to run the marathon and you win the marathon, but you have to be first because if you place second, then you don't get to celebrate because you could have done better. That's, I mean, if it works, if it works for you, and that's the kind of life that you want to live, great. But I would prefer saying, let's just celebrate the fact that I finished the marathon and I didn't get injured. Like something good happened. Let's recognize that something good happened, big or small, and just celebrate it. And when I say celebration, it's not like, oh, well, we're going to go to the most expensive restaurant to do this. No, it can be like, we're just going to make a nice dinner, or we're going to make popcorn and watch a movie, and that's going to be your celebration. Like it can be anything. We're going for a walk at the park, and it can be. It's more about the meaning behind the action than the action itself. It's about learning how to. It's learning how to be happy.
Yeah, I think what you just said right there is one of the keys for not only successful relationship but a happy life. And one of the things that just it is affecting me the most now is just when I look back and I remember how when I was in my marriage, my wife at the time, she was speaking to, hey, just if you got a new contract when you were running a business, just go out and celebrate, or whenever you got your green card, let's go out and celebrate. And to me, it's like, I don't want. I mean, it's not a big deal. I need to keep going. I need to keep moving. And looking back, it's just one of the things that it just hurts me the most is just not taking uh, those opportunities to really enjoy and having a good time, even if it wasn't, again, as you said, it could be just going on a nice walk or just eating ice cream or just watching a movie together or whatever the case may be, but feeling like a celebration and to celebrate your small wins, no matter how small they are. It gives you gratitude. It gives you like a almost like a purpose in a way that, hey, I did good today. And it's when you do that, it's easier to deal with the days that you don't win anything or the days that you suck at whatever you're doing. But then if you can celebrate the small things, even if you woke up and made your bed or made your breakfast or did the dishes, those things, even if you are in a deep hole, those are wins that you could celebrate and feel proud about yourself, I guess.
Well, it's again, it takes practice, right? Like learning. It's funny because we think about practice about the hard stuff, the things that are going to be recognized by others, and we don't think about like practicing like, oh, I want to practice resting, and that's something that, for example, I'm working on, because I had been exhausted for a long time. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I need to learn how to do absolutely nothing for a whole day and be okay, be in peace with that.
That's a
Um,
challenge. That's a challenge right there. That's a challenge right there.
it was so hard, but I really want this, so I'm working on it. And I would say I think we'll learn a lot of that, and actually we force how small of a thing we could celebrate when we were struggling the most, right? When life was extremely shitty, that's where we had to really think hard about something good. There must be something good that we can be grateful about, that we can celebrate. Um, and again, like hindsight is 2020. Uh, but I think like you still can learn. Like instead of focusing on, oh, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I say it? Is, oh, now that I say it, how do I move forward with this? Because there's no gain in regretting and looking back, but there's a lot of opportunity on moving forward uh, with this new discovery.
Honestly, it's been uh, a heavy conversation for sure, and it makes you think, right? It forces you to think what not only what really matters, but what you're doing with your life now, and are you living your best life? Are you doing the best thing that you can do, not to be successful, not to get a promotion, not to win the race, but just to be happy and be at peace with yourself and realize, you know what, everything's gonna be okay. At the end of the day, everything is gonna be okay, and and just be more grounded, I guess. And that is something that I mean, I truly appreciate our conversation right now, just because again, it makes you think, it makes you wonder the things that you did in the past and how you can fix them, and how you can see the mistakes you made that probably you never even thought about, and now you have the power to actually change them and move forward.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about learning, and also a beautiful thing about being able to change as a person, to to fight your ego and let reason and reality win that battle. Is that when you realize, like, for example, what's happening to you right now? It's
Mhm.
like, hey, uh, I I could have done better. So from now on, I want to do better for myself, for who I am,
Yeah.
for my life, for what the future holds. There's nothing stopping you. There's absolutely nothing stopping you but your ego. Nobody's gonna tell you do it or don't do it,
Yeah.
because as you were saying, most people don't really care. And at the end of the day, at the end of the day, as I was saying, you're the only person who's going to live your life. So you have all the tools. And the great thing, going back to something that happened before, you trust yourself. You trust your ability to change and do better. So hold on to that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that insight and those thoughts for sure. And it's something that I'm definitely going to be thinking about more. I already been thinking about it for a while, but applied more, get consciousness and really see what matters, and let the ego aside, which is one of the toughest thing. And I hope that whoever is watching this, or whether it's just you do it for on YouTube or Spotify or whatnot, just takes at least one thing, and it's just like, dude, we're all trying to figure it out over here. Nobody knows what we're doing, and we all sort of have our own sets of insecurities and fears. But if we try to be perfect, then we're never gonna get anywhere. We just need to find what gives us peace, and hopefully that will solve a lot of issues.
Yeah, you need to find what works for you. This is the more the simpler version of it is, hey, you need to figure out you need to figure out your shit. No, like you
Yeah,
need to
no,
figure
no,
out what
yeah,
works for
sure.
you. You need to figure out who you are, what are your values, what kind of life you want to live, and just pursue that. Not for anyone else, because nobody else is going to live your life. Just for you.
Yeah. Well, that was a great conversation, man, and really appreciate your time.
Let's do this again at some point. I feel like we talk a lot. We said a lot. Uh, I'm really glad that we got to do this and we figure out those 40 minutes of
Yeah,
uh, technical
yeah,
stuff. But yeah, let's talk
yeah,
again at some point. I will be curious to see how you evolve both in this endeavor as a podcast host,
yeah,
but also as a person, and keep sharing. Like I'm on your corner. That's the
yeah,
TLDR. I'm on your
yeah.
corner, and if you
Appreciate
ever
it, dude.
doubt, hey, just give me a call. I'm here for you. All right. Well, thank you so
Well,
much for having me.
well,
Good luck editing almost 2 hours of video recording. Uh, and yeah, hope you enjoy the process, learn through it, and keep going.
yeah.
Keep it
Thanks,
going.
thanks, dude. Say hi to your wife for me, and we'll
Of
talk soon,
course.
man.